I'll put it on a B-size sheet when I get to it, but I'll just open up my part file first, then I'll worry about my. Might just take a quick screenshot of this one over here first. That's going to be up on my other screen. Okay. New part file? Yes, new. Standard part? Yes, create it. You don't always have to turn on your view planes, whatever you want to do. I only just keep them on for just a minute while I get going. Here's my XY plane. I'm going to draw it from the XY plane. Pretty common initially for these first couple weeks. Here's my XY plane sketch. Let's do this thing. I'll just rough in its rough shape here. I need that to be horizontal. Then I need it to be perpendicular coming down this way. Need that to be perpendicular. This thing ends up at this same height, I think, right there. And it goes over a little bit, down a little bit. I don't think it goes to that, so I might hold this like short. Then it angles down and angles down. And it comes this way, horizontal, and it kind of angles back up to here. That's my rough geometry there. Pretty rough looking, but that's good. I'll dimension it all out. If you dimension as you go, that's cool too. It's 1 inch. These are 3/8 of an inch, 3.375, 0.375, 3/8. I think I kept that locked into that height. That's why this is 3.13 right here. 0.3, oh, sorry, 0.313. 313 is what I have. Then I have this as the same length as that, like this. I'm going to drive that, I guess, with this. I have it as the same length. Just kind of working around this thing. This thing I have is 60 degrees on mine. And then I have this as 150 here, or 30 at least. 150 though from this direction. 150. So it looks like that. And then I got 1.5 inches here. So 1.5. And then I have a 135 degree here, or I think that's the same as about 45. So 135, you know. And then you get there sometimes on your sketches and you're like, well, that's great, but nothing's constrained. It's like, yeah, and there might, and it's definitely not constrained in model space whatsoever, but it still also has some like movement, like the geometry can kind of change. There's definitely some lengths that haven't been like locked in here. So I think one of them is I'm missing, this is 1 inch across here. So maybe I'll dimension from this line to this line as 1 inch. Now I don't know when I flex this thing how it moves, but I still feel like there's some dimensional stuff that needs to be locked in, and that's okay. I think I'll constrain it in space now and then just see what isn't constrained is how I'm going to approach this thing. So how to constrain this one in space, I don't know. Maybe I'll just choose a coincident constraint to maybe this bottom corner here, and I'll put that on my center point. I'll choose center point. And then I'll just see, okay, so this shows me that, oh, from here out, this is what's kind of, the dimensions are constraining this way. So what all can move and what that can move. So there might be a height here that I don't have. This could be that I don't have, I don't know. Oh yeah, there is, well, oh yeah, this one height. I see maybe what will constrain this will be this one dimension here, like 0.625 would kind of be from this point to the bottom. Like that's the only dimension I haven't put on there. Let me put that one and see what that constrains. So I'm going to just say it's kind of a funny dimension, but it's from this point to this line here would be 0.625. So that's actually all it needed was lock in that one point, and then the rest of the geometry is now constrained. So it can be tricky for sure. Like if I would have known with the overall height here, it probably would have constrained everything too. But just given what I'm was given from the book. That is what constrains it. So this is ready to extrude, I think. 1 inch is what it is. So it's kind of the default extrusion. Yeah, so mine, if I go back into my sketch, edit my sketch, I actually just chose like a coincident, like once I had put in all my dimensions minus this one. You could put that one in though before you move it, but all I did was a coincident constraint to the a corner. You know, it's I'm picking a point, which is either going to be that line end point or this line end point. I technically don't know which one it is, but I picked that point, and then I picked the center point on my screen over here, and it put those points together. And but it could have been any point. You could have chose any point on your object. Um, yeah. What I liked about sketching that way is what it shows you is that I added all these dimensions, but really my sketch wasn't constrained at all. So even dimensionally constraining something doesn't really constrain it. It has to be locked also in model space. So that was the difference of like, I always like draw my basic geometry, add it. There's one more thing I need to add here. Now, I'm glad you actually made me go back in here because I really can add the rectangle cut out that's across. Like I don't necessarily need to add it as a cut later, although I could, but what I'm looking at is like this little thing here. If I just draw this in, then really I can just extrude this profile around it. And I don't have to draw this, extrude it, then come back and sketch a new sketch on this face and then cut that in. I could do that. It's just a two-step process to get to the same. If I just put it in this initial sketch, it's just part of the stuff that I don't extrude essentially. So I think I will put in this rectangle now that I'm back in, but I could have constrained that anywhere in space. I just tend to use the center point somewhere, which is our origin point. But where you place that shape on your origin point, I really don't care at this point, which corner you would have constrained or whatever. Or if you would have done multiple constraints like vertically and horizontally. But I'll just tell you that's my go-to usually to lock down the geometry in space. It's either going to be I'm going to pick coincident constraint and a point on my mostly dimensioned object to constrain, or it's going to be that I use horizontal and vertical constraints. I usually have to use one of each, like a horizontal constraint, maybe to like a midpoint or to a point. I'll horizontally constrain it to the center point, and then I'll vertically constrain it to the center point. So I use that method a lot too. Um, and there's not, at this point in our, doesn't really matter to me at this point, which is a lot like CAD. I never really made it matter where you were putting your stuff in model space. The only difference is in CAD, it didn't even matter where you were in relation to the origin, except for that's the only thing I'm adding here is, oh, in Inventor, I'm going to always like constrain it in relation to the origin somewhere. Especially when it's a standalone part that doesn't have anything else related to it. Later, when we have parts working on parts and working within parts, I will then constrain. I'll usually start from like deriving in a part and then constraining to like that part. And so I'll show you that method coming up here pretty soon too. But there's always, so either I'm constraining to the origin or I'm constraining to another part that I can bring in and reference essentially. So I'm always going to, which is going to help me constrain my sketch too. But yeah, so be prepared for more methods to come there. But for right now, it's great to just somehow lock it into the origin. You can lock it in dimensionally to the origin too, right? Like just because I'm using geometric constraints here, coincident constraints, vertical, horizontal constraints, I could choose to actually dimension it from the origin as well. And that would lock it down too. Just a dimension off the origin somewhere. Yeah. So. And if you ever hit those automatic constraints, it just does kind of it seems like it overdoes dimensional constraints. I think it does apply some geometric constraints, but it seems to always go crazy with the dimension constraints. So in some cases, I can be like, I'm glad AI isn't super smart and hasn't taken over our jobs completely because it just can't auto constrain very well. The human can still do it better, I feel like, at least right now. So I'm going to draw in that. Yes, rectangle here. So I'm just picking here. I'm just going to draw this rectangle in. I can dimensionally put it in. What is it? It's like a 1 inch this direction. So one tab, the same way I would in CAD. Yep. Tab over to the other dialog box and say this one is, what is that dimension? Maybe it's given kind of weird here, actually. It's kind of given weird, actually. I don't really have, I'm just going to drop this dimension in. I don't think it's explicitly given. on my, it's given so far off of here and so far off of here. So I'll put in those, this 0.2 and 0.1 is really how the width is, or the height of that is locked in. So it's like dimension from here to here. You see me lose, I use the like the linear length choice of line a lot rather than the endpoints of lines. So here is 0.2, right? And then from here to here is 0.1. And then I think that's great, but it doesn't know where it lives, like, or how wide it is at all this way. So it can slide on the x-axis here. So what is the dimension that's given? Let's see. This one, 0.2 over to this corner here. Corner to corner. So it's just as a dimension here on this corner. So this is one that I might use. I could use this though too, or this one. Maybe this is one. I could either use the point or the line to this point here as 0.2, right? And then that should lock in my geometry. You know, be critical and take a look at your sketch and decide where you want your little dimensions here. Analyze this as a drafter would, you know, you don't have to clean it up like totally like a drafter, but just so it's editable, friendly for you and someone else potentially. That looks pretty good. Finish this. Now I can extrude this with that profile already chose. Now it's like this. I'll go this way so I can see my sketch there, but 1 inch is all we're doing. Bam. You can turn off my planes. I shift select them and turn them off. Yeah. And then we just have a couple sketches on the somewhere here, right? I don't have it on this one. I got to relook here. Go to this. This is the next two sketches I need to do. Take a quick screen grab of those. Looks like when I get into here, you know, the way these are set up is they're kind of dimensioned off some projected geometry here, 1/2 inch over, 3/8 down. So I at least need two sides of that, but I could just project the entire face of that. Yeah, but really all I really need is this edge and this edge to dimension, or sorry, this one, yeah, this edge and this one to locate this. I'll do that whole first then. This is my projection. New sketch on this face. Sweet. I'm going to project this edge here and this edge here. Those are the two I'm going to dimension from. Here's my circle that's got to be on there somewhere. I'm just going to not pick any geometry for it to snap to. There we go. It's a 1/2 inch in diameter. Yeah. And then I'll dimensionally constrain it. I could also geometrically constrain it. You would think that it's like a vertical constraint this way, but remember on a different plane, it might be vertical as horizontal and horizontal as vertical. So just be aware of those two. I still use these a lot. This would be a great place to use this one on center and on midpoint potentially. I'll use the dimensional constraints that it uses though. It's like 3/8 here, which is 3.375. And it's a 1/2 inch here. So from this edge to this is 0.5, which is midpoint of. That's why I say I could like constrain it to the center of this, like I did that other one, but this will always stay a 1/2 inch. And that's it for this. This is the only extrusion on that plane. It's a cut extrusion. Um, and I'm just going to go through all again, through all. So that's that one. And then we just have another cut extrusion, I think through all from this face here. So I'm going to do a new sketch here. And dimensionally, it's like dimensioned from that. It's 0.313 width-wise, 1/4 inch over. So it's, to me, it's, I don't know. It's just a rectangle on that. But the width of that rectangle is really driven by these two 1/4 inch dimensions. So I'll put it in the same way as there. Here's my sketch plane. So I'm going to project some geometry. It's going to come over from this edge and come over from this edge. And then it's kind of down. I think I'm going to project this edge here. Those are all construction lines like that. And then I'm going to place a rectangle here. So this is one way to do this. I could use this top line as a solid line and then just draw three other lines to make my rectangle, but maybe I'll just choose the rectangle. I'm going to click it in here, which definitely acts like a grip, right? Like if I see that geometry and I snap to it like this, and then I'm going to tab over this box and say that it's 0.313. And I'm going to tab back over to this box. I don't know how wide it is here because I'm going to use different dimensions for it here. So I'm just going to snap that in. It chose to project that line again. So that's what's annoying is I really already projected that line and turned it in, but it chose it again. And so I can probably delete this one that's a solid line here. There's my actual one, but that means that this isn't constrained now. Like uh, for whatever reason, didn't recognize my dash line to lock to. It brought it again as a new projected line. So not only did I have my dash line that was projected originally, but it also brought in a new projected solid line. And that can just happen because it just didn't recognize what I wanted. So I pulled it away for a minute and I actually deleted that one solid line because I just don't want too many overlapping projection lines. Technically, it doesn't matter. It's just that it's kind of redundant work. It's kind of like line over line over line, like we would do in CAD. And we try to avoid that. It's just like if I can kind of limit how much of that I have going on, that same methodology to me comes into Inventor where I'm just like, if I don't mean to project something, I try not to project it. And because here I already had a projected line, I just need to coincident constraint, like maybe the endpoint of this. This is already horizontal or horizontally like constrained. If I pick the endpoint here and then I project that, and then I choose that, now it will be constrained to that. So it won't allow me to pull this away now. And it doesn't add a new projection line either because I kind of like redid it essentially. And I have that constraint now. I just need to add these other two dimensions. So I'd say just be careful. I think initially when you're new, you might just get a lot of extra projected geometry that doesn't matter, but to me it kind of does. On the video, it really annoys me when he deletes his. Like like the hair rises on the back of my neck to be like, why would you delete stuff that you're projecting it so that you can dimension to it? Don't delete it. It'll kind of like make your I don't know. Just to me, it's just not a good practice. But he might change his methods later. I don't know. But yeah, this is all constrained. So kind of quarter inch from each side. I'm gonna cut that through all, and then it'll cut through my backside as well here. So I do think that this is like a slightly different height than this is here. So I think it leaves a little ledge if I do this right. And then so I'll have a little ledge here. So if I cut this through all, I'm gonna through all there, so it cuts through my backside. Yeah, that looks correct to me, like it's cutting through like that. For whatever reason, I think when I built this one in the book, it took me a little minute, like to get that initial first sketch constrained. I feel like I had some issues. Anyway, it seemed pretty good now. So that's done. That's ready for a drawing. Let's do it. So I'm going to save it as exercise 4 for me. And then I'm going to open up a new drawing. So we'll get used to this workflow pretty good. New drawing, browse my templates. I want that one. I'm just going to do something different just to see if it really matters. If I choose this one here, I think it'll be the one that just preloads. I'm just going to create it. Oh, it wants me to select a component for the sheet. Okay, so that's a little bit different. Um, it would be fine. I could select any component that I have open, but maybe I'll just do the preloaded one, just the default one. I'm just going to change it to a B-size sheet right off the get-go. So that's, remember, it's just on sheet, right click, edit the sheet. There's our size of sheet selection B. I know for sure that's not in his videos how to set this. I think he puts all his on D-size sheets or something, but I'm just going to go to a B-size sheet. Place my view now. So a couple different ways I can do that. It's the only thing I have open, so it'll actually just be the one that it preloads because it's my only part that I have open. If not, open your other part. Before you even close this, Like you can go ahead and do your projected views here before you don't have to like do it as a separate step. Like once you place your base view, it's ready to go into like adding the other views. However, on this one, I feel like we do want this particular view. And I think we want this view, but I think we're going to do I think we're going to do a different top and anyway, I think we do a couple different views. So if you didn't mean to put a view on there, you can delete it here with a little X here, or you can add them back again. I think I'll drop them all initially here and I'll say, okay, maybe I'll increase this up to like a double size, like a 2:1 scale here. It might end up being too big, but I'll keep it right now. I'll say, okay. I'll add the view label to it as well. So my parent view has a view label. Okay. So I'll say, okay on this. I can adjust these ones. But I think in the book, it just says, oh, maybe this is not the best projection. Maybe we want to do an auxiliary view of this here. So I think it has me make I'll just quickly glance through this. Yeah, I think it has me make an auxiliary view, and then maybe it has me do like a section view as well. So let's just do that. I think my right side view ends up becoming a section view, and then I think I get rid of my top view and place an auxiliary view. So I'll do that here. These I can move off too, by the way, and just till I decide if I need them or not. But so I can use all this space around me to plan. So auxiliary view right here, auxiliary view. This is what's so nice. Sorry, auxiliary view. I think I have to choose the view that I want to make an auxiliary view there. And then I think I have to say which identifier. Okay, it'll be my first one. So it populates that the view identifier is A. That's fine, but I could change that here if I wanted to. So, and I can even add its own little view label, which would be pretty common to add an auxiliary view label, especially if it was a removed auxiliary view, if I have to remove it out of orthographic alignment. If it stays in orthographic alignment, maybe the view label is unnecessary because the parent view is carrying it. I'll keep the same scale, but I think I say okay here. But I may have to choose this geometry while I'm in this view. Yeah, there we go. So I think it has one thrown on like this, right? So then I just click this and all that other stuff changes. I'll move this. This is my initial front top view. But now here is my auxiliary view that is maintaining orthographic alignment like we would in CAD, just projecting from this. So I've chosen this as my projection plane essentially. So if I undo that again, I might redo this one more time. Auxiliary view, this view, it's going to be label A. If I say okay here, I think it makes me choose. It feels like it's done, but I think now it's like letting me choose. No, I think you need to choose it while you're in there. I couldn't remember for sure, but you have to be in the auxiliary view, pick a view. Then while this dialog box is open, pick the geometry that you're viewing from, then it will show up. So that's kind of a little bit confusing. You feel like you should close the dial. I don't know. You have to choose the geometry that you're projecting from while the dialog box is open. Then left click and it'll be there. Heck yes. I think I just dropped that view on there. I was going to show you one more little adjustment there. It's the same way. If I click on this auxiliary view now, right click to get it into edit its view stuff, I can break its relationship from the alignment and base. That's on that display options tab. I think it's pretty common in every view that this is where that align to base is. And if I uncheck this and I hit OK, it will apply this view label like we would have to do in our drawing. And then there it is. And I think if I shorten this view label, I think it will affect my view. So I feel like if I select this and like drag this in, it doesn't actually, okay, I was wondering if it had a control over this view and it started to modify well, this is kind of taking a full auxiliary view. This would be, if I wanted to view in there, I think I have to make it like a shortened one. Let me go in here and check and see what else I can edit here. Edit this view. I think I have to look for sure. If I choose definition, if I unclick definition in base view, say okay. Oh, maybe that's not what I want to do either. I was thinking I could make this be a partial view. I'll look into that. This partial auxiliary view, I should be able to, this wouldn't make sense to me that my view label my cutting view looks like I'm only taking this much of the object, but yet I'm displaying a full auxiliary view. So I should be able to modify how the length of this view, and it's not just in here. I was thinking it was in here. If I adjusted this, it would kind of shorten my view. What's that? Yeah, for sure. I'll delete it right now. Because really on my assignment, I just kept it as like the simplest way, which was like choose auxiliary view, choose this view now. While this dialog box is open, it's going to go to B for me because I've already kind of used an A, even though I didn't really place an A. So my next one is B in its progression. But because I didn't play, I can actually change this to A. If you've done that multiple times like I have, it's going to change that automatically for you. But technically I didn't drop A, so I can change it back to A. I'll say I'll keep it at the same scale, and then I'll just say okay. This is also where I'm choosing whether it's got hidden views or solid views or whatever. I'm going to keep it as a hidden line view, and I'm going to say okay. Oh, wait, sorry, I did this last time. Choose it. Everything's good. Just choose the segment you want it to display. So I'm choosing this particular, um, which would make sense to us and from a drafting world because I would see that in my top view, it's an inclined surface, and so I'm not seeing the whole. Like I should be able, there's nowhere I could detail the whole in the normal three views. So this would be a reason why I would need an orthographic view, or sorry, an auxiliary view here, is to put the whole as in a dimensioned in its true shape, so I could actually dimension the whole. And then I just left click there and it shows up. I'm going to delete this one because I'm going to use this as my top view. It's not always the case, but I'm just going to delete that one top view. Sometimes I need both. Technically, when I look at this, what I would rather have is probably a normal top view, and then I would just like to have like a partial auxiliary view and show just this in order to detail it out. And then I would probably do it as a removed auxiliary view and place it somewhere here in my print, detail out the whole, maybe the dimensions, its size and location. And anyway, but I think I'd rather have some of this stuff on the top view in its normal orthographic projection for dimensioning purposes, maybe. So even though I dropped the top view in real life, I might actually need it for dimensioning. And I would rather probably have a partial auxiliary view for just the whole specifically. Everything else is kind of all now foreshortened. This isn't great dimensionable stuff here because it's all kind of askew if I'm viewing this from this projection plane. So anyway, just think of that. I'll look up on some of ours that we do auxiliary views and dimension them, and maybe by then I'll be like, how do I do a partial auxiliary view here? I know how to adjust the depth on a section view, but on an auxiliary view, I'll have to look into it. It's got to just be something that's in the menu there. But it doesn't really have a view label unless it really is removed. And it doesn't really have a viewing plane label unless it's kind of a removed view as well. Or it might be, I think it needs a view label if you're taking a partial auxiliary view and just showing parts of it and not a full. But so there's some reasons why, even in CAD we would leave it. Even Inventor is going to leave it like without any view labels or any viewing plane, unless I'm going to remove it. So, and then as far as this view, I think we're going to turn this one into a section view here. So I've got these two views now. Maybe they're getting a little bit too big for this sheet at double the size, but I can adjust that later. So now the section view is the next one over on the ribbon menu. So let's do that. I think it does a section view down through here. So I'll just move that out of the way for a minute. So the next one is a section view. Click it here. Choose this view again. I thought it made me choose a view if I choose section view. Yeah. Choose a view. It should ask you to choose which view you're sectioning. Now you're into kind of a command of the section view, which is really it wants you to pick like a plane, like a cutting plane. So 2 points or more. You can do cutting planes that are offset cutting planes. But this one, it was just a simple straight up and down. So I'm going to say from here, left click, and then see it's kind of drawing a line to here. And then it will allow me to continue to make this section view however I need to. So I think some of the problems from this chapter are not just a simple straight up and down section view. They're actually like an offset section view through an object. So, but right here, so it's allowing me to start to make however I want to make the shape of my section view. If I'm just simple straight up and down, I can just like now right click and say continue. It's kind of like create or continue. And then it creates it. And then it says which way are you looking? By the way I pull this is the way it adjusts the view direction. If I pull it this way, it's like I'm looking towards the right side. If I pull it this way, I'm looking towards the left side. So technically that goes in over here, and it should have its view label too, right? And it is orthographically aligned as well. It's an editable view that I can go in here and say, click this. Let me drop this thing out of this right here. There we go. So I don't have that clutter there. But it's applying. This is section views CC. So it already applies all that at whatever default font and size it has in it. And it would be pretty common for us to, even on a section view, to always have a view label of the section like that. Um, so I'll do that again that's the way I'm going to do it for this assignment, is just to have that one view. I'll move this down out of the way. But on your other problems, it may be like doing a jog in there. And so I'll show that too. If I pick section view, I'm going to pick that view, then it's into like now show me the shape of your, of the section that you want to cut. And so I could say, well, from here, and there is some geometry, you can like grip and like um, lock into stuff. If there's a specific place you want to cut a section view or not, you can just lock in anywhere. But like here, I could say it comes down to here, then it only goes to right here, and then I'm going to turn the direction this way. And if I say continue on this, well, then it looks like a cut like that. It's kind of like a section view cut, whether I'm looking that way or that way. It may not always add the arrow unless I make a full like direction cut, but that's just a different shape. And it's just because I've drawn that shape before I ever like right clicked and said continue. So I can definitely make these offset cuts. And the only reason I'm saying that is because if I go back to your assignment modules and I look at the next ones, I think they all kind of have a shape. These would be the like 4-7 problem is one of them. You can see here that it's this shape, and I think we end up cutting a section view through both of these, like I just did there. It only applies one view label in this, which is okay with me. I'll let Inventor do what it does. I won't try to override it too much. If I was to come up and then over and then back and over, it would apply two arrows. This does seem a little unfinished to me, but it's okay. It's just the way that it automatically applies that. So, and I am looking like this way through there, seeing kind of partial. Anyway, I don't do a lot of offsets. I tend to do probably mostly like more just easy section views, but I guess with the right part and the right understanding and communication on your drawing, then these offset sections are pretty helpful. Um, I would say it's more common for me just to throw a full section view on a lot of stuff, or even multiple section views sometimes. And that's probably my own problem. I probably should recognize where I could do these more than just a full section, two multiple sections or something. But and I'm not sure it's totally needed in this part anyway. But it's a good. And I just wished I would have put the orthograph or the isometric view over here. But either way, there's that one, and I think this other one maybe it looks a little more complete just by the way they're cutting it. It's 4-8. Problem 4-8 is the dimensions to draw it. Looks like I'm showing that I'm just showing that I cut in, and these are the extrusions on these particular parts. One of them's a 1/4 inch extrusion, the other one's a 1/2 inch extrusion. And then yeah, this one the way you draw it in naturally, maybe it puts the two arrowheads on. And my section view is looking to the left. And then I don't know why I didn't put an isometric view of that either, but I didn't. So I will on these next ones. But so I feel like this one I end up finishing someone like not like that necessarily, but I end up just finishing with a simple section view on this. And I just draw one click that's perpendicular, right click and say continue. And then I just pulled it over here as a right side view. I'm gonna bring these up a little bit, bring this one in. I think I'm going to scale it down just a little bit. I think I got rid of this view, deleted it. Bring this one back over. This is movable too, right? Like I can change where that section's taken just by sliding it over. It's kind of unconstrained geometry in a way. It's almost like a sketch. It's not totally constrained. The other thing I didn't show about that is let me go into this, edit this view. I think there's some options that I was looking for in my auxiliary view actually, but on the model options here look the same on the component tab. But on the display options, well, maybe it's actually just originally when I place it, but I get some, I'm pretty sure I can change the depth of this. Where's my depth? Unless it's just when I first take my view. Let me see my section view right here. This section view. Yeah, when you initially, I don't know. I should be able to get into this again. Because when the dialog box, when you initially place your section view, does give you some options here on how deep your section is, like a full depth section, or you can choose to establish a distance so that you're not looking completely through something, but you're only looking through it a short way as your section view distance. So let me see if I can find where that is. I know you can get back into it, or you have access to it when you initially set your section view. I think you have access to it maybe just from over here. This section view, maybe just here. Edit view. And was I'll look into that too. I should be able to get into that initial dialog box again somewhere. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff here though. And I do like you to explore your model tree over here too, because just realize that it's creating stuff. Anytime I did, what I like to show is that section view. Let me see how this is built. If I close all my little views here on my sheet one, this view one is just my parent view. From my parent view, I have this view, which is an auxiliary view, and then it has some access to some of the stuff that's in that view. Also has this sketch, which is what I sketched in, which is editable to at least show that's the sketch of my section view that I can get back in and edit this thing. And I could constrain it actually in that view. And then I have this view, which is my section view, and it shows the same solid was in it. Yes. Yeah, so that's how I actually would get into this one here is I have to find my view in my model tree. Like there it is. It's the one that's red highlighted now. If I right click on this is my section view. If I right click, here's my edit section properties. If I click into edit section properties, I kind of go into a mini version of at least where I can change from a full depth to a distance. So I might be able to and then I can actually change anyway. There's some things I can change in here. So it's not the end. You get that option right off the get-go, but sometimes you can't make a decision right off the top. So it's nice to be able to know how do I get into edit that section view depth potentially. I think I do a drawing where I actually manipulate that a little bit in the future. So we'll stay tuned on that one. I think I should be able to edit this one though too. Realign, alignment, make raster view, edit view. Yeah, I'll play with that. I want to know how to make a partial auxiliary view, so I'll have to play with that. Either way, I'm just slightly oversized. I like everything about this, except for I just feel like my views themselves are just slightly scaled up too big. So I might go down to like an inch and a half, like a 1.5 to 1 maybe is going to look, or yeah, 1.5 to 1 scale. That will at least change. You can see it didn't change this one, so I think I'll keep something like this, where I've got my section view, view label, my auxiliary view in orthographic alignment, and my thing over here is still at a 2 to 1 scale. That's fine. I'll say okay. I need to save this as my drawing name. Anyway, long story short is like play around with these expandable menus, get familiar with what the right click menus are on this stuff. Usually that's where you get into edit stuff. Be an explorer of sorts. This is this one here is my drawing. Number 4 in class. Yeah. This is as far as I wanted to get to today. There's a couple of these done. Save it. Yes. I could change the title if I remember where to do that. It's going to be in the iProperties, which I feel like I get to here more than anywhere else, just from the main file menu. And you go over to these tabs. Here's title. I just gave it the same name. Applied that. Maybe on that last one I changed it to a rev 0, but it won't really matter because I can't see. I think that's on status is the engine is the oh wait, where is it at? Summary maybe. No, I don't know where. Revision somewhere. Revision number 0. It won't matter because mine's too long of a title, but yeah, save it. That's it. That's the end of this one. So that is a little bit of a exploration into drawings today. Heck yes. Thursday we'll do some editing of models along with their drawings. I still don't think I'm dimensioning until next week though. Yeah. And then we'll start using maybe our formatted sheets next week, and we'll talk through some of the attributes that are there. Yeah, I think so. Something like that. I'll stop this one.